live here at myarcade. What you're looking at right now is their new Street Fighter II micro arcades. The reason why these things are pretty cool is because they have this technology where you can play cooperative play between cabinets with, it's actually patent pending right now, but they have a link that links the two cabinets together. So this is kind of their, sort of one of their big splashes at CES, and it's a product that's going to be available around summertime. And Justin, correct me if I'm wrong, but the pricing on it was
$50.
$50. Yeah. So I did ask, one of the things that I thought about is if you're going to offer a product like this, are you going to sell it in a 2-pack? He said that was to be determined. So I did ask that question. So if they're not in a 2-pack, then you can buy them individually for $50 each, but that's still like kind of being decided. So anyways, I think that's a really cool product. And one thing I kind of wanted to mention is earlier, if we're going to think about our competition, which is right here, one of their competitors would be Arcade 1-Up, and they were thinking about doing a Street Fighter cabinet with their countercades and potentially doing a Link too. So there may be multiple products available that do something similar. So we'll come over here for a little bit. They actually have some full-size arcades right here, which I thought was kind of neat. They do this at most of their shows. They'll come around and they'll have like full-size equivalents of some of the offer. So it's kind of funny because we were over at Arcade 1-Up, and this is actually kind of proof that they did a really good job at Burger Time. But we're not here talking about Arcade 1-Up. So let's go over to the next thing. So their second sort of big splash product is this Retro Champ and a Super Retro Champ. So the Retro Champ is going to be sort of a handheld product that can also be used at a tabletop that plays NES and Famicom cartridges. So don't get this confused. There's two separate products. There's a Retro Champ 8-bit and a Super Retro Champ 16-bit. So we're going to walk over here really quick. So here's the Super Retro Champ.
Say the name of the company again.
And the name of the company is myarcade. So just so you guys know, the difference in these two products, one's an 8-bit product and one's a 16-bit product, but this one actually goes the extra mile. This plays Mega Drive and Genesis cartridges, and then Super Famicom and Super NES cartridges. Now, you guys may be wondering, right, like what is the market for this thing? So when I saw this initially, I was kind of thinking of Hyperkin, because Hyperkin has a cool product called the Superboy, but that product for a handheld only plays Super Nintendo cartridges, right? So this kind of takes that a step further, and it allows you to play it both in a handheld mode and on a tabletop. It is rather large though, so I'm just wondering like how many people are going to use it as a handheld device, because there are other handheld devices out in the market that are smaller. One of the reasons why I think people really enjoy the Nintendo Switch is because it's small and it's got a great screen. This is actually taking it a step further. The device is really large, but I'm guessing the reason why it has to be that large is because of the cartridge compatibility that they're looking for, right? This one actually has a top loader and a bottom loader. So one of them is going to be for your Super Nintendo and Super Famicom, and the other slot's going to be for your Genesis and Mega Drive. So it does probably add to the bulkiness of it. And then if you look at the Retro Champ, the reason why it is so bulky is because it's got to be able to support traditional NES cartridges. So if you have a lot of cartridges laying around, whether you're a collector or an enthusiast, this could be a really cool product to take those cartridges on the road with you. That was really all I wanted to show. We'll just briefly show some of the other systems they have here because they're known for their micro arcades. So we'll go over to this one. We'll go over this one sort of display case. We'll go over to the other one. So they've got various other products. They sell game pads for both the NES Mini and the Super Nintendo Mini. And then they also have some cartridge converters here, so you can actually play Super Famicom and Super NES cartridges. And then they have these small arcades, which you may have seen these. You know where I've seen these? Are actually at like CVS. So if you have like drugstores and pharmacies, they tend to sell those. They're pretty cheap. They're like $30 units. And then this is something I actually didn't ask them about, and I haven't seen this before, but it's like sort of a 301 little like tabletop HDMI connected arcade with 2 game pads. I think it's kind of cute actually though, because it's got these 2 mini game pads. And then the one below is kind of a quirky, I don't know, that's like kind of like one of those really quirky type devices that is trying to be like a Nintendo Wii kind of thing. And so we'll wrap it up by going over to the display case that shows some more of their micro arcades, and then we'll kind of just finish things up. So a person that really loves these, if you don't know Glenn from Glenn's Retro Show, he is a huge fan of devices like this. The booth is rather crowded right now, but Justin's gonna try to get in there for you. There's lots of different devices here. So they have their handheld devices, and then they have, if we go over to the right a little bit, they've got the micro arcades, which Glenn loves. And if you're interested in more, deeper dives into these micro arcades, go to Glenn's Retro Show because he covers these a lot. They're pretty neat little devices. I think collectors really enjoy these types of things. I personally don't collect these, but I think they are pretty neat. And then if we go over to the right here, you'll get a better look at the at one of their newer Namco multicades. And then you've got the Super Retro, or the Retro Champ, not the Super Retro Champ. And you can see how big that slot is on the back because it has to support a traditional NES cartridge. And if we go over one more, we'll wrap it up here, is you've got a closer look at their Street Fighter II cabinet. And in the back, you got their Contra. That was actually previously unreleased. I think that's kind of fun. I can see myself kind of digging a little mini Contra cabinet. So, myarcade, you know, pretty cool little company. We'll wrap it up. I'm gonna have Justin move over here. And, you know, obviously their featured thing, the thing that I think people are gonna be most interested in, is this tabletop Street Fighter micro arcade. I think it's pretty neat. We'll see if Arcade 1-Up decides to, you know, answer them with a similar product, but for right now, myarcade's got this thing locked down. It's pretty cool, and it's gonna be available sometime this summer, both of those products. So that's it. We'll see you guys on the next one.